Yes, Denis.
Yes, just please tell me when we're
ready. Yeah, live.
Oh, good. So, hello everyone, and welcome to the first Fuel Arts webinar devoted to art and tech plus NFT market. After the successful panel during the demo day held in October, we decided to proceed online meetings with the key figures of the art and tech industry. So once a month, you'll have a chance to listen and contribute your questions to the group discussions with investors, market analysts, tech gurus, and art and NFT collectors. So our first meeting is called What is Art Tech, including NFT for Venture Capital. And I'm happy to welcome our invited guest, Dr. Christian Nagel, co-founder and partner of Earlybird Venture Capital, Berlin. Hello, Christian.
Hello. Hi, Dennis. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Thanks for accepting our invitation. It's always a tough job to be the first, or whatever, the first investor or the first guest at a series of webinars. So Christian,
we are early birds. We used to being first, or we like to be first. So that's why it's perfect, perfect fit.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a brilliant answer. So Christian has more than 25 years of entrepreneurial and investment experience focused on FinTech, ideally making use of blockchain, artificial intelligence technologies, and data analytics. He was chairman of the board of TIP24 AG and Interhyp AG, which he both led to an IPO returned in large scales. Also, I'm happy to introduce the regular speakers of Fuel Arts webinars you have to become very familiar with. So Katja Cohen, an investment partner of Fuel Arts, partner at Amadeo, a New York-based VC company, active angel investor, mentor at 500 Global and Techstars, with over a decade of experience in entrepreneurship, what a word, and venture capital. So, and Olga Fried, managing partner of Fuel Arts, mentor for 500 Global, international business development consultant, entrepreneur, and investor with more than 15 years of experience. The board just remind me that my name is, yes, right, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Denis Belkevich, and I'm art economist and general partner of Fuel Arts, the first dedicated art, tech, and NFT startup accelerator. So let's proceed. And our first question to Christian as the top guest of today's webinar. So Christian, what prepared you for becoming a startup ecosystem organizer, entrepreneur, and later investor?
It was all the excitement about new technologies which intrigued me specifically, and also see basically small startups grow, like a small plant which starts to grow, and this is exactly what we're doing, and this in areas which are growing and accelerating. So this excitement basically of supporting entrepreneurs in a very early stage, and then see them how they grow and they can become significant companies. And back then, when we started Earlybird 24 years ago, it was hard to do this in Europe. The ecosystem in US was quite developed, so we also went through quite some rough times as entrepreneurs ourselves. But now we see a very nice developed ecosystem, with lots of unicorns being created, even more unicorns than in China. We're catching up with the US. And unicorns is always kind of a good sign of a working ecosystem with regard to venture, because if you have a unicorn in your portfolio, it's quite likely that you also yield good returns for your investors and have created a kind of significant company in the end. So that's the excitement, and always be in the forefront of technologies. So this goes in various directions. This goes with data, AI. This goes, obviously, crypto blockchain is a significant part of this, where we see, and this is also a part of our topic here, basically how this goes across all industries and more and more so. So I would say in a couple of years, all industries, all segments will be affected by that. to the better or worse, but in the end, we believe to the better, because we think things can be achieved, but cannot be achieved without it. So that's the interesting thing, and yeah, that's why we're excited about that. And I like my job since already almost 25 years, and
that's quite
ongoing.
long. Christian,
I've just heard the perfect reply, which I should use 25 years after establishing Fuel Arts. So when I'm asked in 25 years how I came to this, let's say how we came up to this business entity, I should reply it like I've just heard. Thank you. Yeah, that was
great reply.
Really,
Christian, since we have I'm going to jump because based on your first answer, I thought to jump in and mention the following. We have two types of people listening this type of podcast. Typically, those are startup founders and investors like ourselves. And like investors, and we're also, as we say at Techstars, we're a startup that helps other startups start up, right? So in a sense, when you started your venture, you were a startup yourself, an entrepreneur.
Yes.
So what do you think are the vital success factors for startup, but also for investors? Given that we have two types of profiles listening this, right? What would be your, I don't know, right off the bat, crucial tips, or what would be your recommendations for those both?
Yeah, I think it would be good to see the view of the venture capital on the list on this here, and that's what we're looking for. In the end, we're looking for great people. In the end, there's some really good analogies to art. In the end, we're looking for creators. So people who create something which is unique, which is superior to others, which has obviously differentiated a lot from the rest, and has some impact. So this is what we're looking for, and this especially in early stage, the team matters most. So we really, in the end, are trying to pick the right teams with the right topic. And the old saying is that you rather invest in a good team with a mediocre topic than the other way around, kind of, a mediocre team with a great topic. This is the old saying in venture, and this holds true. Because a good team can also navigate through difficult waters and make some success out of this, even in difficult times or through difficult times, whereas a mediocre team or bad team obviously not going to succeed then. And especially since in many cases we invest, it's not just they always pivot over the time. They came up with an idea and pivot over time, and then come to the business model. Google is the best example. When they came up with the search engine, they never thought they want to make money like they did earn money now. So there's obviously a lot of pivoting on the way. I remember this very clean page where you just have this search without any ads, and this for a very long period of time. This has changed vastly. So, and this is what we also see, and this is obviously can be maneuvered better with good teams, and so that's why this is a really important point. And then obviously it comes, and this is more specific maybe with Earlybird, that we like to invest in tech. We want to see differentiation through some tech in the end, because if you have good tech, you at least have a certain advantage. Others can obviously get to this also. It's a matter of time as to get there. So tech gives you only a certain time advantage, not forever. But at least it's good if you then continue on building on this and on this advantage you have or being ahead, that can also help staying there then. In combination of a good financing round with good investors, that all need to come together basically to then keep the company stay ahead.
My term. Yeah, thank you, Christian. So with Earlybird's focus on investing in all development and growth phases of technological companies, it also invested in the famous Berlin-based online art and auction house, Auctionata. So could you please tell us about this case, about this investment round?
Yeah, no, certainly. It's also something which obviously did not work out very well for all the investors invested here, and we have been among the early investors in this company. And we thought, we were intrigued by the idea of basically auction can become also virtual. They don't have to be in presence. Because with getting virtual, you obviously address a much larger audience. And specifically when it comes to more than eBay, I would say, so more the unique, be it art, be it design, whatever, kind of the unique things, you rather find the audience globally than locally. So if you have a local, you have an auction house, like a small auction house, they can only address basically what is in driving distance, so to say. And whereas the internet obviously can address everything. And if you have art and more the unique part of these, compared with eBay, because eBay is obviously mass things, which is also good and which finds its place and has found its place. But if you look for more unique items, then it's good to address the global audience. And that was the basic idea behind that. So addressing a global audience with obviously also then complying with the legal environment for this, you know, so they still have to run the auction online within an auction house, which can be accessed by people. So all these kind of things have been reflected. And this is what has been done by the team of Auctionata. And they also expanded to the US and financed by investors who supported them in the following rounds after we invested. We also supported them because they invested. They were about to expand to Asia as well, because there has to also be obviously huge art markets there. So there was the path. And then now the question is what happened. I think we had, would say two main incidents which happened, which is normally always that's what can happen in venture. It's one thing is that we were about to close a financing round, which did not happen. It was notarized and it didn't come through in the end. So the investors just did not pay. That was kind of a thing which happened. That's one thing, but this not triggered obviously the path they're on, but it was rather the founders team where we had some issues with the founders team, like health issues, and that triggered basically. Or not triggered, but that was probably the point, both together, but probably the point that it didn't go in the right direction. So in the end, we had a team change due to that. And always, if you have a team change, this is what I mentioned earlier, the team is so important. And if something happens to the team, that's the worst case in most of our companies which failed. I would say more than 90% of the companies which failed is due to something happened with the team. And it can be different things. It can be team split up. It can be fraud in the team. It can be, we have seen many things over the 25 years we are in the business. And if that happens, that's in many cases it will not turn out to be a successful investment then in the end. And so that happened to Auctionata. I'm still very convinced that this can work. Obviously, at that point in time when we invested, the Sotheby's and the Christie, so the big ones, were not as far as they are today. So like Christie auctioning NFT art, we were far away from that, really, kind of years away, as we know. So that was at that point in time, it was quite unique. And this was even interesting because Sotheby's and Christie's, they were not that interested in auctioning this middle layer, I would say, between eBay and Sotheby's Christie's. So art pieces in the range of 50,000, 100,000, 20,000. You know, it wasn't not very interesting but there's a lot out there. There's a lot of stuff out there which is not suitable for eBay, but also not suitable for the Christie's, Sotheby's. So even the market position, I still believe today is a very good one. You know, if you target this market segment, which is obviously now they are further advanced. They have their online platforms. Now I think it's a different time we are in, but at that point in time, I think it was a very good positioning. And I would actually do the investment again back then. You know, we always have to adjust for the time, obviously, not maybe today, because today we are advanced and everybody's on digital. Everybody is used to Zoom and other video platforms. So this becomes a norm kind of thing. Even sales and software, it becomes done by platforms. So it has all changed a lot. But back then, reflecting back then, I would still do the investment.
I think the only thing that every VC investor wish for is a time machine, so you can go back and invest in a company that you missed out. My friends took public SEM Rush. It's a Russian team that I met 9 years ago, and I passed on them. And I'm like, shit, I should have invested. But anyway, that happens.
Well,
my question to you related to a venture investor. What is your perspective? And let me take one step back. Let's say there's art-Tech, which I feel like was not the thing for a typical VC investor, I don't know, years ago, right? And it's in a sense a new category. How do you think like VCs look at art-Tech right now? Is that like a growing interest just because of NFTs and it's a sexy thing? Do you think it's something that will come and stay for a long time? How would you like describe that relationship with art-Tech? Because again, like if you ask a traditional VC, art-Tech for them is not in the scope. It's like PitchBook and Crunchbase doesn't even have the category for that, So how do you see that?
Yeah, I think one has to see it probably a little bit broader. Obviously, with the digitization of art and with the NFTs, with the ability to create something unique, which is immutable, which can be authenticized. So that obviously changed a little bit the look into this segment. And what we see now is, well, obviously VC is always interesting for us in the marketplaces, and as there are marketplaces around who sell digital art, that's something which is very interesting for VC. And why do marketplaces need money? Because they need to scale. You have basically supply and demand have to be in sync somehow. But if you have created a marketplace, it can become very valuable because in the end, people go to the marketplace with the largest liquidity because this attracts both sides. If you have the largest supply, then you go to this where you have the largest supply. So that's why marketplaces in general are interesting. So something like OpenSea or Rarible, it's very interesting from the VC perspective view because you can attract many people to this and can become very valuable thing. And that's one thing. Then we see what you can do with NFTs. Now going really to the topic of NFTs is much larger than just creating the art. Now you can say what is art? Is gaming? Is it art or not? So then it becomes it's a little bit this thing between these two segments. But you can say, well, there is parts of this is probably art. If you create avatars, what is it? Is it art? Is it close to? Is it probably it's art? So there you can see already this is kind of converging somehow. So that's one thing. Same, you can think about music. If you create music, what is it then really? Is it becomes more the art part, or what is it really? If you use it everywhere, and so what is it then? So we see these things converging actually, and I think we see also the NFT, for instance, not just limited to the art in the sense we have seen it with the people thing. Something creates something, and then this is going to be sold as a unique item. We see this becoming much more broadly. We believe that this will completely change the entire gaming industry. So we had the first wave was basically you buy a game, you buy a DVD and then put it in a computer and play the game, and you paid for that. The second wave was basically was free to play. So you got your game for free, and you paid for upgrades, for things you need to buy to be faster or whatever. Now we see the next level basically that you play to earn basically. So you do create something within the games, and you're being rewarded for that. And now you can ask, is this already art or not? Or is it becoming art? I could imagine that it becomes kind of art. And then we come to a metaverse, so the virtual worlds. And there you certainly touch upon art, where you have within the virtual world you can have kind of real art in quotes. You can have a virtual museum where you display NFT sort of things, where you can have virtual galleries where you can trade NFTs. So this becomes really kind of conversion. There you have art, with the rest creating these avatars and things and games. Is it art? I would say yes, to a certain extent, for sure. So we see these things converging. And we believe also in the way that the gaming will change completely, because you will have the user become more the creator, and you're being rewarded for creation of something. And that goes in the direction of, for instance, of more flexible NFTs. So NFTs today are quite static, because you create something and then you have a value, and the value is derived by supply and demand. But imagine you have NFTs which can become more lively, in terms of, if you add to an NFT something in terms of creation, training for kind of avatar you have, this can also improve in value, because you have created something, you have built something on top of what is there. So we see also this NFT becoming more lively, more changeable, and not just due to supply and demand, but to something being added to that. And that's a creation. And there we come back to the creators, and who are artists in the end. So a long answer to.
But basically, the bottom line, the VCs will keep investing wherever they can find the alpha. But of course, since the world is changing, the art, if I understood you correctly, the art is here to stay, and the tech art will stay.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look into VC, we are pretty simple-minded in the end. We just want to make returns on the investments. But no, it's a little bit too. No, we actually. VCs typically also have passion for something. You always have passion, otherwise you wouldn't do this. And because we're not giving money and running away. We're investing, very much supporting the companies we invest in. And for this, you also have to basically first have some knowledge where you invest into. Otherwise, you can't talk to the entrepreneur on eye level, and also basically have some passion for what you're doing. So that's why it's a little bit more than that in the end. But you're right. In the end, we are not following trends, but obviously we're trying to be very much on the forefront and trying to see, okay, where do we see developments which can change something and have an influence. And once we are there, we try to find out more and dig deeper and see whether their business models can be built around that. And then we also learn a lot from talking to entrepreneurs who are very much in the forefront and developing something new. And this is also how we build our knowledge over time. And obviously also working together with entrepreneurs. So it's a little bit give and take also. So it's not that we know exactly what's happening tomorrow. We weren't aware of NFTs. We didn't know where blockchain, it came then, and we say, well, we need to dig deeper and find out more, and then realize, okay, wow, this is massive. This is huge. What's coming there? It's the next wave for sure. After internet, that's certainly the next wave, and now we see what all can happen and can be created out of that. Talking about art, NFT, and so and much more. So and then if something like this happens, we dig deeper into that and try to find interesting businesses.
I'm going to ask a very tricky question. And Danny, sorry, this was not part of our discussed script. I met this investor in Dubai. He's a VC, well-known investor. Not the one Dennis is thinking, Olga, the other guy. And he invests in NFT. And I'm like, well, what do you think? Because I've been investing, I believe in that. I've been investing a long time ago. He's like, I think it's a scam. I'm like, whoa, then why are you investing? And he's like, well, because I'm going to ride the wave, but I'm going to pull out at the perfect moment. So yes, that happens. What is your perspective against the fact that for some investors or, perception in the market that NFT is a scam? What would be your counter argument to say that it's not?
Yeah, my counter argument would be a little bit like, look at blockchain, and look at Bitcoin. So it's pretty similar. I mean, we had this gold rush in the beginning, then we had the burst, so to say, so the down cycle, and now people say, well, it's a scam and has to go away. Even very prominent people from banks and so on, they also tell this, and from governments, they say, well, we should ban it, and so it has to go away. But it's clearly here to stay, and because it makes things so efficient, and it has such a huge disruption potential. And same with NFTs. I think we are in this bubble phase now, basically, where people pay for something which is probably more crap than art, but not across the board. So I think this will be sorted out somehow, but it's clearly here to stay, because you can create something which is unique, and if you create something which is unique, and you have also you attract also different artists, new artists. I wouldn't say not the old artists who do NFTs now, but maybe new artists, and this will become a big part of the art business, I would say, a huge one. So it's clearly here to stay. Obviously, in these early phases, you have obviously the people who scam. They have basically the fraud guys. You have everyone around here, basically, and I even know friends of my kids, and everyone is creating NFTs and trying to make money out of NFTs. So this is kind of the hot topic currently. Is this all art? Probably not. Is this all as valuable as it's being sold now? Not, probably not. But it's a typical phase, I would say, where it needs some time to then establish. But to your question, it's for me, it's clearly here to stay. But obviously we are with regard to NFT art, certainly in a kind of bubble phase. That's what we see.
And do you think the pandemic has to do with that? Sorry, Dennis, last question from my side. I mean, pandemic played the role, but...
played a certain role, basically, of igniting this or accelerating this. But this goes really across all digital business models, I would say. So people realize, obviously, they can do much more online, in many cases more efficient, and things they have never done before. And that's why, obviously, people also had more time to think about NFTs and about crypto and about anything else which is digital and available on your browser, like simple said.
Yes, if I may add.
But it's not going away. So that's maybe to add to this. It's not going away. With maybe hopefully the COVID times being over. I don't know when, but at least they will be over at a certain point in time. Maybe not forever, but at least it will go down. But then still it stays. So it has nothing to do with it. It will not go away. Since I think we always make this jump. I think we see the COVID time as basically we jumped on the next level with regard to digitization, and same with NFTs or other crypto products, applications, and so on. We just jumped on the next level, and we are on this level, and we see these fluctuations on this next level, and then let's see whether it comes the next level. But at least we made this jump to the next one, with obviously being some ups and downs here, and the cyclicity is obviously still big, as we see with the digital currencies currently.
Yep, I agree.
I've heard a brilliant question and brilliant reply. So I also always advise to the people who ask me about NFTs, so to divide NFTs and the hype around NFTs. So we all shouldn't forget that the NFT in relation to art is only a coverage. So artists should create the artwork and shouldn't forget that they are creating an artwork. The essence should be artwork, and NFT is a legal coverage. And it's really the future. It's really the evolution of, let's say, the legal system. It's just the digitalization of our of the provenance of the passport, of the transaction relations. So today we all have vaccination certificates in our phones. Today we all have debit and credit cards for many years. So NFT is, let's say, the digital passport of whatever object. So the future is now. So I mean, in my opinion, we shouldn't forget that NFT is a legal term, first of all. So it's not an asset, but it can cover asset, adding any asset additional value. The more we are going into future, the higher this value is. And my next question would be also around NFTs. But before that, I'd like to share some data. So according to Crunchbase, from 2000 to 2019, art and tech startups received 640 million in direct investments. So, but in 2 recent years, from 2020 to 2021, art tech received 510 million, which is 80% of the industry's total investment over the last 2 decades. So startups and their technologies were mostly acquired by the art market heavyweights, large sellers, and venture capitalists. When I say large sellers, means art strategists. So, and also art strategists like top auction houses and dealers made a considerable contribution to art tech during pandemic. Let's say in 2020, Acovella Galleries, one of the oldest, actually it's the oldest of the mega galleries, which you have now in the art market. The Acovella Galleries, they invested 10 million in foundation app and NFT marketplace. So brick and mortar gallery strategist invested into NFT marketplace. The second example is the most recent. So a month ago, Sotheby's invested, by rumors, 20 million in seed round in the Delaware-based NFT studio Mojito, which will create the metaverse for online sales, including NFTs for Sotheby's, as planned. So in that case, the investors in NFTs, or let's say in digital assets, they divided into two big parties, and almost every day we're speaking either to these or to the others. So one of them are straightforwardly investing in NFTs, meaning NFT startups, but startups only. The other ones are trying to assemble NFT assets. So they are investing in NFT funds. They are investing in NFTs, combining, creating funds, inviting curators, inviting market analytics. So what's your opinion on NFT as an investor, and which way is, let's say, more familiar to you, if to choose either to invest into NFT startups or into NFTs itself?
Well, we would, as a VC, we would rather invest in NFT startups than in NFTs. It's a little bit the analogy, but there may be others, But just before, but I think the majority would think alike, and but there may be others who it's a different approach. I would say it's more the art collector's approach, I would say, where you collect art in a certain way, and you also basically with the idea of earning money with that. So not just for yourself, but really tied to it like a fund, and then collect different art pieces, so to say, and from different artists to build a portfolio and earn money with the portfolio. So with some, big time increasing in money, maybe sometime not, and maybe sometime decreasing in money. So that's a different approach, I would say, than basically the investing into something which enables things in the NFT world. So this is more many VCs think alike. So they and we want to invest in something which, so the shovels for the gold diggers kind of thinking,
right?
Still,
right.
That's something we many VCs look for. But also some are more on the side of investing into creative. As the analogy would be that some VCs are investing, for instance, into gaming studios. It's kind of also creation of something, but you can't do this with one. You have to have a portfolio. You have to have 10, and maybe one is successful, or 20 and one is successful. So and this works well if you have this portfolio approach and also in knowledge about the content. I think this is a big difference. And the typical VC is not very content minded in the end. So, but there are some very specialized who are basically have the view on the content and can basically have like a curator or something you can think about, have really a good sense for artists, for the right state to invest in this, and for art in general. So that's a different thing. We look more into the tech world, where we invest in some technology with which you can enable something, which you can basically induce something. So that's more maybe VCs think, and it's more close to, so to say, what we have been doing, I would say, in the times where there were no blockchain or NFTs around. That's more in line of what we used to be investing into in the past.
Thank you. Katya, what does your water says you?
Nothing is permanent. It's it flows, and you cannot enter. You know, there's a saying, you cannot enter the same lake twice. All right, so I think, Olga, you've been kind of quiet, and I know you. You have a bunch of questions.
Typically,
shoot.
yes. But you know, it's our first like webinar, so I need to like organize all this stuff and then okay. Give me just some time to think a little about it.
I have another question, just a small one,
Please.
and while our guests reply, Olga will create her own angle of interest towards Christian's activity. So, Christian, could you please tell us, I mean, your vision, what NFTs as an asset class lack? What the market of NFTs lack in comparison with, let's say, the other assets, more traditional, or let's say the brick and mortar physical art. But besides the short period of existence, we all understand that the investments are made based on information, and information is based on statistics. Statistics is based on the timeline of the market existence. So we can hardly say that let's say the timeline of the NFT market is well enough to make, let's say, some kind of valuable prognosis regarding NFTs. But besides that, what does the NFT market require to become, let's say, sustainable investment in front of the investor?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, NFT is just a protocol with which you can manifest basically your art, and this is so that's what has to be seen. So in the end, it's about creating of art. I think now we have a little bit the phase where basically because it's a tech thing, it's a tech platform with which you can create something. So you can just take a picture and make it an NFT. So we are in this phase, and this I would call is the bubble phase we are in now, because obviously this has nothing to do with art, because if I take a picture from everywhere and then create an NFT, and it's obviously not, it's obviously also easy to create these things, and it can become art over time, but it's not real art. So, and we are exactly in this phase, I would say, and in the end, it will come back to if we stick with an art piece now in terms of art, then it becomes back to the creator, so the artist who creates something which is unique, which is superior, and which is something very differentiated, and then it becomes the representation and obviously this all happens in virtual worlds, in basically digitally, and I think once you have the ecosystem develop in this direction. I mean, it's starting only now, like the Christies and Sotheby's picking up on this, and so. But I think we are far away from this becoming really a big part of it. I mean, we have obviously, what do we have in digital world? We had video art, becoming successful over time, and this has reached a certain state. I think the next phase will probably be. It's you can call it virtual art or whatever. I wouldn't call it always NFT, because the NFT should disappear somehow in the end. In the end, it's about art which is represented by something which is unique and is immutable and can be clearly authenticized and can really be followed. Who owns what? Who has owned it? Yeah. So, but this is in the end, it has to come back and has to be boiled down to the art itself, I would say. If we stay into the art world, I said NFT can be used for many other things as well, and see many also representations in other industries, like in music and gaming and so on. But if we stick with a sort of say more narrow view on the art, really, I think it boils down. It comes back to is it really art? Is it a very interesting art piece?
Well, I have an related to your answer, since I mentioned that every investor wish they have a time machine, right? Like going back to make the investments. What are your perspective, moving forward? Let's say next 10 years from today, what is missing in the art tech sector? Where do you think there are untapped opportunities? Just your like a little 10-year roadmap on the space, art tech, not NFT.
Yeah, well, obviously with being able to create digital art, which I may call it now here, and then obviously you just broaden the universe of the creators. So in the end, you much more democratize also the creation part of it. Whereas basically people who do painting or do sculpturing and so on, it's something you need to basically learn. You need to be trained. You need to do all these kind of things. You have to have the means for this, for doing so. Whereas in the digital art, you can basically everyone can create something in the end. So you probably open the universe and much more democratize the part of the creators, but also the part of the collectors or the owners of art. As Dennis mentioned, you use your phone for everything. It can be also contain your collection of art, your art in the future, and it does already today. So it's not far away. We are already there, and this will become the norm, I would say. That so people collect things and trade things, show things, use things for whatever their representation. And this goes very much into your question where we are in 10 years. I think we all will have some representations in the metaverse, in the digital worlds we will be seeing and creating. So I think we will be far advanced there. I think many of the things we do today on a computer, let's say, or on a screen, will go into these virtual worlds. Like all the gaming will go there, music will be there. So many things you will not just do on your own, basically, with your computer or with your program, which displays some music or pictures or whatever. It will all become, we can go more into the virtual world, like metaverse and others. So that's at least my view in 10 years, that we see much more happening there, and that's going to be a big thing.
Christian, as an investor to investor, my question: how do you start your day? Can you give us your typical day? So what do you do when you wake up? How do you check your NFT collection? How do you make your, let's say, investments article? Just give us like a day in your life.
Yeah, well, well, we are myself. I'm very focused on what we do. So typically, I don't check many things I have invested into personally every day, because I just don't have the time. If I would need just more time for that. I have bought just a few NFTs for fun, for the fun part of it, but I don't look at them. I don't do too much trading, because if you want to do properly, you have to really focus on that. Same with stocks I invested into, but same with other things I invested into. So I don't do this every day. So those are more, I would say, the private part of that. Other than that, the day looks like, well, it's always a combination of basically of supporting our portfolio companies. So having board meetings, having calls about whatever HR, about strategy and things like that. So this contains a large period of every time of the day. And then it's about new things, discovering new technologies in certain fields, as discovering new topics, discovering new teams which are around, talking to those, meeting them. Sometimes we also physically meet again. Maybe let's see for how long, but at least we had a time where we did so more often. And then also we have to also do fundraising, to be honest. As a partner of a venture capital firm, we also have to do fundraising. So it's not our own money, but partially it's our own money. But in the end, we are investing other people's money. So we also have to take part of that. And this also then it comes to the point where we also need to think about how to further develop our company, Earlybird, in terms of what's the next generation. We are, for instance, thinking about tokenizing the funds. So far the venture capital funds are, you're locked for 10 years plus in a fund as an investor. To make this more liquid, you can think about basically buying, not basically doing investments, but more into tokens, so that you basically have the ability to trade in between and can go in and out in a venture fund, which makes it obviously more attractive then. So we are also thinking in this direction how to adapt our asset class to what's happening and what would be possible with the technology at hand now, so blockchain and smart contracts and so on. So, and this is also obviously thinking we may not have every day, but at least from time to time we also think about how we can develop this further.
Yeah, I can give you some tips on how to tokenize the fund. That's what I did with one of my funds. That's a separate topic, but
yeah, it is indeed. Yeah.
Quick follow on, like we mentioned, you were learning new things. Where do you typically go to learn new things? How do you explore the world?
What we do internally within Earlybird, we call it deep dives. So we basically have a small team, 2 or 3 of my colleagues, and then really go into a deep dive into certain segments. And this is how we learn about things. You know, we do deep dive in quantum computing. We do deep dive in nuclear fusion. We do deep dive into NFTs. We do deep dives into many different topics basically, and to explore then who's around, how does the industry look like, who are the players, who are attracting financing, who has been invested, who are the investors in this, you know. And then we map basically a little bit the landscape in terms of what could be interesting for investment, and this is the way we then go along, very hypothesis driven, see, okay, where are these things which can be happening. Then we do active reach out also to the companies or teams, entrepreneurs who are in this field we find interesting.
I have one more question, Dennis. I'm sorry.
No problem. I love when I have the right to ask 3 questions in a row and more. So please do. Yeah.
And Mike, I promise, last question. For the fundraising, I mean, I know that we all fundraise for the funds. That's why I said we all have 2 hats as entrepreneur ourselves. So how do you pitch now NFTs to the investor? Give us your pitch. Like you come, like imagine I'm like a traditional retail investor. How would you pitch me?
Yeah, well, the pitch is, and it's a little bit. We always say we don't invest in NFTs, and we also say we don't invest in blockchain, because in the end you can do nothing with it. In the end, it always boils down to the business model, and the impact it may have on what is there. So that's and obviously we also, that's why we not directly invest into NFTs. We rather invest into, as I said, enabling technologies which help basically spur the industry, build marketplaces, you know, support basically making NFTs more flexible, livable, and so. So this is the thing I would answer if you were asking what is it really?
Christian, but this is
what are you doing there?
This is not selling. If you're coming to me and saying I'm investing in enabling technologies, I'll be like, all right, well, what is that? Everything is so enabling. So would you still throw NFT? How would you make it sexy? Just give us like one sentence.
Well, obviously it's a fast-growing market, and fast-growing markets can create big values in the end. This is the big thing it boils down to, and it has a huge impact into many dimensions, and it's changing industries. And this is really the thing. It's not just NFTs, basically completely changing the entire industries, which has a big impact. And as we see already with the art market, the impact on Sotheby's and Christie's, that they're selling items like for tens of millions, shows that this can become huge and is changing something. And with investing into this, you just participate in this big change we see, and this big market being created and growing extremely fast. I mean, we always like to invest in fast-growing markets, because in fast-growing markets you can obviously participate and create values in a short period of time. Whereas in other industries, slow-growing industries, you grow with the industry, you know, like 2%, 3%, 5%. But we rather like to invest in industries which grow with hundreds, 1,000% per year, and this is exactly what's happening in NFT or a broader blockchain, so to say, world. You know, it's a broad, obviously, very broadly. but only if you have really the kind of models which are working, which can create something. So it's not per se the blockchain where you can invest. You have to basically invest into specific. And the same little bit like NFTs. We wouldn't invest in NFT per se, but in things which are enabling something, and then you can participate in the value. If you invest in the marketplace, where everybody's jumping on this marketplace because the values are growing and everybody wants to invest there, the marketplace gains most in the end. And this is what we want to participate in.
Perfect.
So,
thank you.
I mean, I'm buying that. I'm ready to buy that.
So I send you the signing forms.
Sure. So Christian, thank you for your inspiring, let's say, day timeline. It's always, interesting and great to listen to the other person's experience. But I've heard the word from your, let's say, day schedule, which is very, very similar to mine, is research as part of research and development. So my next question is connected with the research. As soon as we started talking about art and tech world, so according to your research, what companies could you probably mention in art industry as soon as you're most likely keeping a hand on the pulse of the art market as well? So what companies could you mention which, according to you, have strong potential and promising future? If you could just enumerate some, give us some names.
Yeah.
If not the names, maybe the spheres of development, which, in your opinion, are the most promising for developing the art market by means of tech.
Yeah, well, some I mentioned already. This marketplaces is one I would mention, like OpenSeas or Wearable. Then if you look more into basically art, really, like Superar is one thing, Rally, Foundation. So those are the ones where at least they're a little bit more established, I would say already. They are there, but they're interesting companies. And we're obviously looking for companies which are earlier than, so kind of really early, which are not that known maybe. But it's rather where we focus on. But if you then go to music, which is obviously also heavily affected by, especially with this very complicated rights you have in the music industry, I think this can be overcome by also basically going more into the NFT or let's say digital blockchain world. Like Royal, like Opulus. So those are the ones I could mention here. Then if it goes into luxury collectibles, like exclusible, timeless investments. So just two names out of that sector. And what else? And then it comes. Is obviously gaming is significantly affected by that, and I think is undergoing a big change, as I mentioned at the beginning already, since we see this play to earn becoming the norm and probably taking over, and well, Sorare to be mentioned here, obviously coming from a very obviously mass thing like football collectibles. That's one thing we see. Axie Infinity we see also play to earn, probably the largest globally. Dapper Labs also. So those kind of companies to mention here, and those are just the one that come into my mind, which we look at, we watch, we see, okay, what else is coming there? They are already established somehow, but we are looking into again. We currently really focus very much on this shovel thing for the gold diggers.
Thank you, Christian. And the last question of mine. I mean, previously I asked you what does the NFT as a sector lack to become a trusted asset, but now I'd like to ask this question again, but in a wider meaning. So what does currently the art and tech sector lack to become a trusted asset in front of investors?
Well, I would say it's already there. At least we take it serious. So we know many of our colleagues also see it serious. So obviously there are the people say, well, this is scam, this will go away, but but and they will be around for quite some time, like they have been in Bitcoin and Ethereum. So that's something. But I would say it's already entering the serious phase, clearly serious phase. As the names I mentioned, they are many of them, most of them are financed by VCs. So it's not that and serious investors. So it's not that it's kind of in this stage where it's kind of totally exotic and not touchable. It's clearly we are already there. And I think, but I also think it's just the beginning, because with the things I mentioned, I think there's in many dimensions so much room to grow. And this will also shape industry. It will also shape the art industry. It will shape the gaming industry. It will shape the music industry, I think. So we see in those industry, I think, big impact on what's possible through basically through the blockchain technology. In the end, this is always what it goes back to.
Thank you. I mean, I'm very pleased with your reply. I mean, I'm happy for the industry that the prominent VC investors think about art tech from that angle. Thank you.
And last question from my side.
If you're ready.
As soon as you are ready, yeah.
You know, I see a lot of startups watching us right now. So my question is like more about startups. What is your main 3 recommendations for early stage art tech and including NFT startups about business development, and of course, first of all, about fundraising?
Yeah, what is important, obviously the team is always important, but in terms of how to build it, I think it's what is really important is that you need to build a community. I think this is even more important in this industry or this part as with other industries. I think that's really clearly important. So I think the project manager of it becomes really the community manager. So the community manager is so important, really. It can be the founder, but if you build a company, you have to basically address that. That's important, and along with that, I think it's a strong communication also. So you need to communicate a lot to basically get to know what you're doing, and that's the only way basically to get to know. And you have to find the right channels. You have to basically do this in the right communities, and you have to engage the communities. That's why the community is so important. In the end, the value is always represented in how engaged the community is. So that's the thing which defines is defined by the blockchain. So if you think about why are the currencies so attractive, why are protocols are so attractive, because many people are using this and also contributing to that. So that's why this community building is so important, which includes everyone in the value chain here, because everybody who contributes something should be part of the community. And I think this is really something which is extremely important. And the other thing is then the quite normal thing that you obviously you need to differentiate. You know, you have to have a clear USP, and that goes along a little bit also with other industries or other investments. But these other 2 are really important, specifically important in this NFT. I would say art part of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian.
Christian, tell us what are the other questions that you would recommend us to ask you?
That's quite some questions.
Last 4 minutes.
Yeah, it's a good thing. You have been asking quite a bit already here. Yeah, well, let me see what's next. Yeah, I mean, it's I think
your last piece of wisdom that before we all continue the rest of the week.
Yeah, I think we have to. Well, we shouldn't be scared too much by the volatility, I would say, and you have to be patient. So everybody who is active here should be patient when it comes to the value. Obviously, you shouldn't spend too much on if you're investing into something. It can be NFTs, can be also funds and whatever it is. You shouldn't expose yourself too much, and you should be relaxed with fluctuations. So unless you really become a kind of trader and are very into it, it becomes your main your main focus, then you can obviously do this and go in and out with all these things. But then you have to really focus and dedicate a lot of time to that. Otherwise, you should be really relaxed. And I can only encourage everyone to buy and invest in digital assets. That's something everybody should do, and everyone should own digital assets. But only not overexposed. So that's, I think, also important. But everybody should have
moderate speculation. On okay, we hear you. Moderate speculation is the key. Thank you so much. This was amazing. I don't have any other questions from my end.
Well, thank you, Christian. That was really great, and we can just, I mean, thank you again, and truly believe that the next guests of our Fuel Arts webinars would support the high level of our talk, which was established during the first one. It's always important how you start. So we started. I believe that the start was very inspiring for me personally, and it was really tremendous and great. Thank you again, Christian, and the rest of the audience, our Fuel Arts community, our Fuel Arts metaverse, let's say. Let's be frank, our Fuel Arts metaverse. So we'll meet each other in a month during the next webinar, and just subscribe to our Telegram channel, subscribe to our newsletters, and soon you'll see the very inspiring news about the season 2022. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dennis, Katja, Olga. Thanks very much. Pleasure meeting you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.